So welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Randy Bott and I am a professional landscape photographer, mostly specializing in black and whites anymore. I still do color if the conditions are right, but I don't know, I just kind of seem to gravitate more towards black and white anymore. I don't know if it's because now that I've learned more about it and how to get the look that I want, I just kind of gravitate more towards it. For selling prints, black and white just kind of goes with everything. There's no real color palette that you have to kind of focus on. Oh, my room is more this color, I should have prints that are this color. Black and white just goes with everything. And so recently I had to go to Iceland for work and not for photography. However, I did have a day before I had to get on the ship where I could go explore a little bit. We're up on the north side of the island, a little town called Siglafjordur. I think that's how you say it. So we had a day. So we went out to Goðafoss and then went up to Mývatn. I think that's how you say it. The nature baths there. But on the way up, stopping at Goðafoss, I was able to get some long exposure images. And unfortunately it was clear skies, which is like not something that happens in Iceland, according to everybody. And I was there in 2017, I think, in the fall for a vacation. You know, we had nothing. I think we had one day of clear skies. Everything else was just gray. And unfortunately, I wasn't into black and whites then. I was just getting into photography. And so I really didn't know. Now, if I'd go back, I'd love to have just the gray skies and just kind of the dreary weather and all that. So this image here, it was, like I said, taken at Goðafoss on a bright sunny day. So let's go ahead, jump into my computer, and we'll get started on the edit. So here's the image here, and you can see, like I said, blue sky and all that. And because I had a polarizer on, and I think it was a 10-stop neutral density filter. You can see up in the corner here where it's kind of blue. That's from just stacking those filters. It ends up, especially as you go really wide. I want to say, let me see if I can open this up into Adobe Camera Raw, and hopefully it'll have all the details of the image. So yeah, it's 24 millimeters, 25 basically. F11, yep, 60 seconds. And so just being at the widest point of the lens, if you start stacking filters, you end up getting the edge corners that kind of start to show up from the filter threads. So that's the details of the image. But you can see just due to the sun, it's just blue sky, so you have quite a bit of shadows. And so I have this here, Goðafoss le.psb, which is long exposure. This image here, this is almost the final image, but if I come over to the channels, I've got all the luminosity masks that I used for this image. And these, I use the Artisan Pro panel. You can use any luminosity mask software. Like, I think I have Raya Pro. You can use, I forget, there's a handful of them out there. But I just kind of go through and see what is going to work. You know, it's just kind of trial and error. Find ones that you think you will use, like this one, because it's the darks, darks 4. Focuses more on the really dark areas, the darks 4.5, even darker areas. You know, all the lights, you know, you just kind of go through and just kind of get a handful of them available to you. However, I also made hard masks. You can see this one of the sky. Unfortunately, I missed a little bit right there. And then I inverted it and I did the ground. They do say OPT, which for me means optimized. So if I zoom in, you can see the edge is feathered and it's not real sharp. Unlike this one, the enhanced sky, which is where I started, you can see the edge is really sharp. So just optimize it. All I did is just feather the edge just to smooth it out to make a better transition. So let's go ahead and get into the image here. And obviously the first thing I would do is start with just the spot healing brush. Make it a little big, get rid of the center dust, and then just come up here, get rid of the corners. Something like that. I think that looks pretty good. Now with this Artisan Pro panel, the convert, there's a lot of different conversion options here. And in my previous video, you can see which ones I used. But on this one, I just like to use just the neutral conversion. The advantage of using this is if you need to make luminosity masks, whether you make them from this one or from the color image, it doesn't matter. The luminous values are still the same. I've got them, all my masks I want to use on this one here. First thing I want to do is work on the sky. So let's go to selection, get rid of that. Let's go to the other one. So in this document here, you can, any image you have open in Photoshop, you can pick where you want your mask to come from. So we'll go to the Goðafoss le.psb, and I want to choose the sky optimized. Click OK. I'll click OK on that one. Now let's go to depth. So I want to bring it dark from the top down. So I'll go top to bottom. And then let's just go strength 2, dark 50% of the sky. Let's go quarter of the sky. Let's go strength of 1. Let's go one more 50%. Something like that. Now let's go from the bottom to the top because I want to brighten that up. So we'll go light, strength 2, and just a quarter of it. Let's go strength 1. Do one more. I think that looks pretty good. So we'll leave that. So let's go ahead and merge these all down. Because the more you have, more layers you have, obviously the larger the file becomes. Merge this down once more. So call that good. Deselect that. Now let's go ahead and make a copy of this, which Command J or Control J on PC, I don't know. Now I want to work on the ground here. Let's get rid of just the grayness of it. So that's my pet peeve to black and white. So a lot of people, they do this and then they think that looks good as a black and white. It's just shades of gray. I don't know what I'm looking at. So we'll go in here. So let's go back to the Goðafoss LE and let's kind of figure out what we want. We have a darks 3. That looks pretty good. Darks 4, that may not be enough. Anything else? Okay, so let's go with a darks 3. Let's go back to here. Let's go selection. Click OK. So the first thing we want to do is we want just the ground. Right, so we'll do ground optimize, new selection. Now we'll go select. And so the reason this window keeps popping up is because there's no mask or nothing on this image. And so once you put like one mask on this, that window quits popping up. So let's go to Goðafoss, we'll do the darks 3, go to intersect, click OK. So now Command H will get rid of all the little marching ants there. Let's go over to Tools, Pro Adjustments. Now let's just start darkening the image. So the downside to the bright sun that I was dealing with is you can see how this area here is just getting really dark compared to everything else, which is fine. We can fix that in a minute here. I think that looks pretty good for now. Deselect. Now what we want to do is put just a white mask on this layer, something like that. Then let's zoom in to this really dark area. Like that. Let's go to brush, hit the B for brush. Let's see, one on black because we have a white mask. Opacity 43%. Yeah, that seems about right. Let's soft brush. Now we'll just kind of start brushing this in like this. So just to bring back the detail and to have it match everything else. It's going to make the brush really small so we can kind of get into this little area here. Let's make it big. Let's do one more pass on this area, bring out some more detail. And then also the way this works is you can see how it's really dark in this area here. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. Let's just brush this in a little bit just to bring back the detail of this really dark area here. Something like that. Bring that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and work on this a little bit. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring down, do down in here as well. Bring back a little bit of detail here. How does that look? That looks better. Yep, I like that. So let's stick with that. What I want to do now is this foreground here, it's just a little bit distracting. So let's make a merged layer, Command Option Shift E on a Mac. Bring this up. Now let's go ahead and let's do another selection. Let's do the ground again, ground optimized. So we want to basically make a diagonal, right? We want to come up from this side to darken the foreground there. So let's go to depth and go diagonals from bottom right. Let's go strength of 1, and then just quarter the image. Let's just go darken. Just go strength 2. One more pass. Now I'd like to come up just from the bottom there. So let's do, come back up here, bottom to top, darken, because that way it'll kind of get right in through here as well. Something like that. So let's merge these down. So now a cool trick is, now that everything's still selected, just the ground, but if I take this off, you can see the difference in the image, right? So we will use this layer here, this layer 1, as our restore layer as we're on this. So now that we use the restore, so let's go ahead and go a range of 3 and go diagonal from, I guess, the top left down and restore. Okay, let's go straight down. Let's go do one more. Now let's do another down at an angle. Something like that. Actually, I don't really like that. I don't like what it's doing to this corner here. Let's Command Z just brings you back on these. Let's just go back to this. So something like that. Now let's go back to here. Let's restore. Let's go just straight down, because we want to definitely bring this out. Let's do one more. Actually, a couple more, and it'll kind of slowly. Okay, we'll call that good. However, you can still see this area here, which is really dark, which I do not like. So let's go ahead and deselect the ground. Let's put a mask back on this. Now go to our brush, increase the size. We're on still at 43%. Then we can just kind of brush this in. Something like this. Just kind of real easy. Then we can also just start making sure nothing else is selected. Let's go a slightly smaller brush so we can get a little closer. We'll just slowly brush this in. Make a bigger brush. Do out here some more. Smaller brush, come back in. Gotta keep working this area here, because we definitely don't want it to have that reddish look to it. So something like that. Let's do a quick black brush. Just brush this area back in. Now you can also change the hardness of your brush. Something like that. And brush this in with white, I guess, and then let's switch back to black. Do one more pass here. Oops. Definitely don't want that. So let's zoom in and fix that problem. You can see right there. Just make a soft brush again. Make it small. You just kind of come in here. You get the gist of it. You just clean up your edge here. But I found, definitely don't start out at 100% brush, because I'd rather slowly work it in versus all at once. Okay, let's see this now. So that looks better. It's not as distracting anymore. Let's make another merge layer. Let's go back to Adobe Camera Raw. Decrease the highlights. so that we bring it back some detail in the water. Come back to this Goðafoss LE. Let's go to our channels. Let's figure out what luminosity mask we want to use for this. Looks like I only have lights 2 and lights 3. I think lights 2 will work just fine. Go into here, go back to our layers. Let's do selection, Goðafoss, lights 2, new selection. Now if you just hit the mask button, you can see it just brought them down just a little bit, so there's still some detail in them. Now if you want to do that even more, what you can do is on your brush, you can go to overlay. And what that'll do is it'll prevent you from interfering with any black areas. So go white, and then you can just brush this in like this. The only thing it's affecting are the white areas. You can see I can brush up here all I want and it doesn't do anything. So you can see just something like that. But we won't do that. Let's just go back to here. Let's make another merge layer. Now what I would like to do is just kind of brighten up everything in the white in the foreground. And if one way we can do that is we can just create a mask on this. Let's go to Tools, Luminosity Masks. Let's pick Lights. Then we'll go through. See, like Lights 1 has just too much going on. Lights 2, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so we'll keep a Lights 2, drag this down, copy it. Then if you hit the minus, they all just go away. Let's go to our half luminosity masks and see how a 1.5 looks. That doesn't look too bad. I kind of like the Lights 2 better. So we'll just stick with that. Let's get rid of all of those. Select. And see, now you can see now we have that mask, that little window doesn't pop up anymore. Go to ground optimized, click OK, then go to select and hit lights 2, intersect, click OK. Now we're just working on the lights within the ground. So now we'll come to Pro Adjustments, start out with just a 1, bring that up just a little bit. And now, so this selective adjustment versus the normal adjustment, this works basically only where the luminosity mask is portraying, whereas like this normal adjustment, it just does the whole thing. It works for a lot of things, but I don't use it a whole lot. I'd rather just use the selective adjustment. So that's all that does, you know, the difference between the two. So let's go 1 more, the strength of 2, something like that. Deselect. Yeah, so that really brings back highlights in the water. Okay, so I want to darken this mountain in the background a little bit. The best way to do that is, let's go back to our selection. Let's do Goðafoss LE, ground optimized. Click OK. Now we have this. Now let's go to the erase button. So now if we come in here, it'll erase everything that I'm getting rid of here. You can see, so it's just keeping just this mountain here. Now the easiest way to do that is now we go to depth. Let's do top to bottom, strength of 1. Let's do darken just like halfway. Let's go strength 2, darken. Let's go 1 more. Okay, now let's go left to right. Let's go most of the way across. There we go. That's really what I'm looking for. That looks better. Okay, let's merge these down. So obviously there's a, you know, a hard line across there now, which is not a good look. But again, what's below it? The image without anything done to the mountain. So now we can just add another mask, do another brush. Not too big, but not too small, soft. Then we can actually increase the opacity here. Let's just go 100%. Then you just am I on? Nope, no, gotta go to blacks with the X key. Now if you just come in here, brush this in, we can make our brush even bigger. It'll just kind of fade up a little more. And it'll deselect everything. Then we have just a slightly darker mountain in the background. Obviously this line is, you know, there's nothing you can do about that because that's actual rock or something there. Even though it kind of looks like it's like I put it in there. I actually didn't. So I think that is pretty much done. So a quick, let's see, how did I compare to this image here? Actually pretty close. That one, yeah, pretty close. I did get rid of So obviously the next step would be, another layer. Let's do the spot healing brush. Let's zoom in. Get rid of this little cloud here because it's just distracting. So one thing about that 1 minute long exposure is all the people here that were walking around just create like the ghostly shadow of them. So it's kind of a cool look. So this is my fine art black and white of Goðafoss. You can see it looks just different than most people's black and whites because I spend the time to make them more contrast versus just gray like this. And then, like most people, they just darken the sky. So take the time, try and make your images stand out. And images like this are what I have in my art fair booth. I don't have this one, but they're very contrasty. And because I'm focusing mostly on black and whites in my art fair booth, it really draws people in. They really stare at them and they kind of try and focus and they know what the point of the image is. They know the story of it because it's not just shades of gray, right? So anyway, take your time. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them the best I can. Feel free to check out my website at randybotphotography.com, and I'll see you in the next video.